like a queen. I feel like that made me stand out above. Nobody was talking about menopause on Netflix. I didn't know it. I just, tell what's going on in my life. And I was talking about perimenopause, and I've had more people come up to me and go, that's how I got started in comedy. And I look back on it and I think I was in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, and I knew from the time I was little I was going to be in show business, which is crazy because my parents wanted me to go to college, and I wanted to go too, but I didn't know what. I thought, I don't know what I'm even doing here. I'm going to be a movie star. And my high school boyfriend went to the University of Tennessee, and I followed him and nagged him to death until he broke up with me. But all the while, I kept thinking, I'm going to be in show business, marry Chuck Morgan, get pregnant with my first baby, Charlie. I want to stay home and nurse him. I had a degree in crisis intervention counseling. I wanted to be a child and family therapist if I didn't make it in Hollywood. And my friend, Leanne Allison, said, I'm selling this jewelry and you could meet people, because I was alone and isolated up there. And she said, you can have fun. You can make a few $100s a night. Chuck can take care of the baby at night. And it worked perfect for me. And I didn't even care about jewelry. And we all looked like Mr. T, because they would say, wear as many chains as you can. Wear it to the grocery store so somebody will see you and ask you about it. They went out of business during COVID, but it was a really sweet company. But I started having these jewelry parties every night, and I was supposed to be talking about jewelry, and I talked about breastfeeding and hemorrhoids and things that I love to talk about, with little babies. I loved being pregnant. I loved all that. And women thought I was funny, and I started booking about a year in advance. And the company noticed and started getting me to speak at their big things. But I look back now that I've worked clubs and theaters and everything I've done, and I had my own little comedy club with my demographic in those living rooms. And I developed some of the first material I ever used in clubs. And it was God's plan because, I was in the middle of nowhere. There were no comedy clubs. There might have been one in Knoxville, which was about an hour away from me, but with little babies. And then I had Maggie. I kept doing it while I had Maggie. By the time I had Tess, that third one, I was like, I can't schlep this jewelry around anymore. And by then, Chuck had really gotten established, and I didn't have to have the money. It would have been nice, but I didn't have to have it. And by then, I was really calling myself a comedian and doing gigs around Morristown, Tennessee. Then we moved. He sold his business and went to work for a big company that he's still with. And we moved to San Antonio, and that's the first time I had a club. And then Austin was right down the road, about 45 minutes away. And I would drive back and forth, and Margie Cole, that ran that club, believed in me and moved me from opener to headliner the first time in their history. And that was one of the best clubs in the United States. And so, and I was trying to tap, didn't have tap shoes. I wanted so bad to take lessons, like all that kind of stuff. But we were in a town of 500 people. That's in between Nashville and Clarksville, Tennessee, on the Kentucky-Tennessee border. And my little mama owned a business. She and my dad ran a meat processing business together. She did all the accounting and all this stuff. So she was busy all the time. So I didn't go anywhere and take lessons. So I would just tap and do my own thing. But yeah, I always was a ham. In my high school, my teachers saw it, and they would say, hey, Leanne, do you want to MC this? Or, and you want to be in the choir. We know you can't sing, but just open your mouth and dazzle. So I would be in the front, trying to. So I always did that. And then we had a speech and drama class where we did improv, and it felt like my whole world opened up when we did it. Oh, yeah. And even this little farming community where all the boys, this was so old-timey. Our people around there grew alfalfa, corn, and soybeans and dark fire tobacco. They're known for dark fire tobacco for Skoal and Copenhagen. These boys would get out of school at 1:30 to go work in the fields. That's how old-timey it was. But in my little class, I had very talented people. One ended up at Juilliard, became an actor, and has done wonderful. 4 of them had a country music band that got a record deal, and they all went to college and didn't do that. But we had very talented people in that class, and I think I graduated 42 people.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I had all that, and I was in a play. I was in one play in high school, but I didn't have any lines. I played the sex symbol. Little Abner, I was Stupefying Jones. I wore a bathing suit with pantyhose underneath them. I gyrated. I had a gyration moment, and in my mind, in my little country mind, I thought, this is my first step to Hollywood. This is it. Somebody's going to see me gyrate in this school gym. Now, I mean, that's all I do is work, but I'm so tickled for it. I feel so blessed. So then I had little bitty children, and Brian Dorfman, who is now my concert promoter at Outback Concerts and does all my tours, he owns clubs all over the United States. My baby child was 18 months old. I opened for Billy Gardell at Zany's in Nashville. And he said, Leanne, I think you got something, but you cannot do this with 3 babies in these clubs. You can't do the club circuit because back then you would work Tuesday or Wednesday through Sunday. And Chuck was an executive by then, was moving up the corporate ladder and was gone all the time. And I was the main caregiver for these children. And I wanted to be the main caregiver for these babies. But he said to me, you cannot do it. And I remember it made me so mad, but he was right. I look back on it and I couldn't have raised my own children and done this that way. So God just put his hand on me. So and when they were little bitty, I got on a tour with the Southern Fried Chicks, and that was 2 other female comedians coming off of the Blue Collar. Do you remember when Larry the Cable Guy, Jeff Foxworthy, they all blew up?
Yep.
And were on this huge tour. We were kind of like a female version of that. We didn't get as big as that, didn't make that kind of money. But I was able to work on the weekends, and Chuck Morgan took care of these babies during the week. I always got to pick them up at school, drop them off. And then after that tour ended, there was always television deals coming from Hollywood. I had like 4 before this sitcom made it. And so even if I wasn't working a lot, and I was your breast cancer fundraiser girl, like people hired me to do that, ovarian cancer or the heart disease or whatever, because I'm a clean comedian. So I did a lot of private corporate things that didn't take me away from my children. I'm a clean comedian that I can work pretty much anywhere. And I think somebody gave me that advice a long time ago, even though I don't think in my heart I would have ever used language. Somebody gave me advice a long time ago and said, if you can work clean, you can work anywhere and you can make money while you're trying to make it in corporate or whatever. You can't clean up dirty.
Yeah.
Like, if I start out dirty, and I've seen people try to do it, open for me, and we go, we need clean people. And they go, yeah, I can be clean. They usually can. That was the best advice I ever gotten. But also, I'm a mother. I didn't ever want to say anything in front of them that I didn't want them to say.
Right.
Anyway, I started just doing what I could to stay on stage. And there were years that there was nothing. I mean, I would always have bookings, 1 or 2 a month, but it's nothing like it is now. But it kept me on stage while I was raising these children.